Many seek the secret to fortune in modern books, viral advice, quick formulas, but true treasures aren't in what's new. They're in what's eternal. Solomon, the wisest king who ever lived, was not only rich in possessions, he was rich in understanding. And today, his ancient principles can transform the way you see abundance. This isn't a video about how to make quick money. It's a guide on how to attract what endures. Because what you build from wisdom, no one can take from you. Get ready. Today you will learn about the 4 pillars of true fortune according to Solomon. And once you understand them, your life will never be the same. 1. The beginning of all wealth is in inner vision. Before gold reaches your hands, it must first pass through your mind. Before building a palace, you must be able to imagine it in the silence of your soul. And before living a prosperous life, you need to have a clear vision, guided by wisdom. I am Solomon, son of David, king of Israel. When I had the opportunity to ask for anything from heaven, I did not ask for armies, nor riches, nor power. I asked for wisdom to govern, because I understood that everything else would come as a consequence. True wealth doesn't begin with the desire to have, but with the ability to see beyond the moment, to see beyond scarcity, beyond fear, beyond the chaos of the world, to see with the eyes of the soul what does not yet exist in matter, but already lives in your purpose. Many people believe that fortune is achieved through blind effort, extreme sacrifice, or sudden luck. But that's not what the ancients teach. The wise men of my time knew that a soul without direction is like a ship without a rudder. It moves, but it doesn't advance. It works, but it doesn't prosper. It struggles, but finds no meaning. And what is inner vision? It's that moment when you step away from the noise and listen to your true calling. It's when you stop imitating others' paths and dare to honor your unique design. It's when you understand that wealth is not an end, but a consequence of living aligned with your essence. He who only seeks money ends up empty. He who seeks meaning builds abundance. He who only wants to win despairs. He who wants to serve becomes a magnet for opportunities. In my youth, I saw many men chase after caravans of gold and end up as slaves to their own desires. But I also saw others, in silence, sow wisdom, and without realizing it, gold reached them. Because everything external responds to an invisible law, the law of alignment. When what you think, what you believe, and what you do walk together, the universe responds. One of the Proverbs I left written says, "Where there is no vision, the people perish." And this applies not only to nations, but also to your own life. If you lack clarity, you will live at the mercy of circumstances. You will follow what everyone else does. You will seek what everyone else seeks. And most dangerously, you will lose your soul trying to fit in. Therefore, if you feel stuck today, don't start by doing more. Start by seeing better. Be still. Ask yourself sincerely, what am I chasing? Does this fulfill me, or just distract me? Is this my vision, or one that others imposed on me? Remember that abundance doesn't begin when the world applauds you, but when your soul feels at peace. And peace is the fruit of living in coherence with your inner vision. Most financial mistakes are born not of ignorance, but of a lack of clarity. People who invest in what they don't understand, who buy to impress others, who work to fill internal voids that money cannot heal. That's why I tell you, he who sees with wisdom walks with firmness, and he who has vision is already halfway to fortune. Today I invite you to close your eyes and open your soul, to stop chasing what glitters and start building from within. Because what begins in the mind manifests in matter, and what is born in wisdom grows in prosperity. 2. Not all that glitters is a blessing. Discernment is key. I have seen men celebrate their apparent success with empty souls. I have known women surrounded by luxuries and with broken hearts. I have also seen the simple, the humble, walk in peace, not because they had more, but because they knew how to discern better. Because not everything that seems like a blessing, and not everything that seems like a loss, is truly bad. One of the most undervalued riches in these times is discernment, that quiet ability to see what others don't see, to hear what was not said, to perceive if an opportunity builds you up or pulls you away from yourself. In my life as a king, I was offered many thrones disguised as alliances, many businesses full of promises and empty of truth. I learned that the wise man does not leap at everything that glitters. I learned that the anxiety to grow quickly can make you fall slowly and without return. I once wrote, "The prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty." And these words are not theory. They are scars left by hasty decisions, soulless pacts, riches that promised freedom and brought invisible chains. To discern is not to distrust everything. It is to trust, but with open eyes. It is to move forward, but with awareness. It is to choose, not from necessity, but from wisdom. We live in times where everything is sold as success. If they have many followers, they must know something. If they have luxuries, they must be wise. If it shines, it must be good. But that is a trap of the modern world. Because glitter without substance does not illuminate, it dazzles. And what dazzles often blinds. I have seen many fall because they confused abundance with noise. Because they said yes when their soul whispered wait. Because they didn't take the time to ask, does this bring me closer to what I value? Is this door opening for purpose or for temptation? Discernment saves you unnecessary wars. It saves you years of setbacks. It frees you from people who, though they smile, don't know how to love. From partnerships that, though they promise, don't build. From paths that, though they seem straight, end in emptiness. And here is a hard but necessary truth. The modern world is obsessed with growth, but not with meaning. Growing is not always advancing. Winning is not always prospering. Multiplying is not always maturing. Discernment, however, is patient. It doesn't chase everything. It knows that one decision can change an entire life. And so it breathes before responding, observes before acting, stays silent before committing. You who hear me, you are not here just to survive. You are here to choose with awareness. And every choice is a seed. What you decide today will bloom tomorrow, for better or for worse. Before accepting an offer, ask if it is consistent with your vision. Before entering a relationship, feel if your soul expands or dims. Before investing your time or money, examine if you are sowing in fertile ground or in foreign soil. Because what you choose shapes you, and what you repeat defines you. Discernment is perhaps the most spiritual of abilities. It is the whisper of the soul that tells you, not here. It is the intuition that stops you just before you get lost. It is the memory of your worth when the world wants to buy your soul. Therefore, dear listener, don't be afraid to say no. Don't be afraid to wait. Don't be afraid to leave the wide path, to find the narrow one that leads to your truth. Because true blessing is not just seen, it is felt. It is not just offered, it is built. And if something takes away your peace, even if it promises glory, it is not a blessing, it is a trap. And as I wrote in one of my Proverbs, there is a way that appears to be right, but in the end it leads to death. Don't be fooled by the shine. Don't be seduced by the immediate. Don't get lost by what looks beautiful but silently destroys. True wealth is built on discernment, because he who knows how to choose has already won half the treasure. 3. The law of exchange. Give first what you wish to receive. Many people want to prosper without offering value. They want to be heard, but don't know how to listen. They desire respect, but secretly despise. They long to be rewarded, but fear sowing. And here is one of the oldest, most forgotten, and most powerful truths of the wisdom revealed to me as king. Everything you wish to receive, you must first be willing to give, and not out of obligation, but out of conviction, not out of self-interest, but out of honor. Abundance is not pursued, it is attracted, and the highest way to attract is to offer. Offer without anxiety, offer without expecting immediate return, offer with generosity of soul. In my days I wrote, a generous person will prosper, whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. And I assure you that this is not just a pretty phrase. It is a spiritual law, invisible but constant. Everything that leaves you with truth returns. Everything you share from the light comes back multiplied. And what you give becomes the fertile ground where your fortune will grow. He who sows judgment reaps loneliness. He who sows gratitude reaps favor. He who sows with selfishness gathers conflicts. But he who gives with purpose activates doors that no effort can force open. Many ask, why don't I prosper if I work so hard? Why does no one help me if I am always alone? And the answer is not in the world, it is in the soul. Because it's not enough to do, you have to do with consciousness. It's not enough to give, you have to give with a right heart. It's not enough to move, you have to move in alignment with the law of exchange. Do you want abundance? Then offer value. Don't wait to have a lot to start giving. He who is faithful with little becomes worthy of much, and he who gives from his essence is never left empty. But don't confuse this law with a transaction. It's not giving to manipulate. It's not offering while expecting something in return. The difference between the wise and the cunning is in the intention. One gives out of principle, the other gives out of strategy. And the universe, dear listener, responds to the soul, not to appearance. I have seen many men feign generosity, while in their hearts they sowed control. I have seen women offer help, expecting obedience as a reward. And I have seen how that seed, though it flourishes quickly, withers over time. Because what is not born of the soul does not last. Now listen carefully. Everything in nature functions through exchange. The sun gives its light, the tree gives its shade,
and the soil supports it. The river gives its water, and in return receives the channel that guides it. And you, human being, are no exception. If you don't give, you stagnate. If you only accumulate, you empty yourself inside. If you hold on to everything you receive, you become an emotional dam, full of weight, and without the circulation of life. He who gives with wisdom keeps his soul fresh. He who shares with intention opens paths that neither money nor fame can buy, because the law of exchange not only generates wealth, it also generates purpose, healthy relationships, and deep peace. Do you want respect? Be the first to treat others with dignity. Do you want opportunities? Be the first to sow your talent without fear. Do you want genuine connections? Be the first to open your heart with truth. And if you give and don't receive immediately, don't get frustrated. Time does not invalidate the law, it only cultivates it. Just as the seed that is buried does not bloom in a day, your actions will take a little time, but they will return. And they will return with force, because everything you give to the world in one way or another, gives back to you. I, Solomon, lived it. I offered justice, and was surrounded by peace. I sowed wisdom, and was sought out by kings and queens from all corners. Not out of vanity, but because when you give something that builds, life elevates you, not for ego, but for service. So don't wait to be ready. Don't wait to have a lot. Don't wait for others to do it first. You start, you give, you build, because the law of exchange doesn't need witnesses. It only needs a seed, and if your soul is fertile ground, the harvest is guaranteed. 4. Peace is the greatest of riches. That living well is having more than others. But I have lived long enough, and I tell you this with a serene heart. Peace is the true wealth. What's the point of owning land, if the soul lives in war? What good is gold if you can't sleep without anxiety? Why conquer the world if you don't know how to be silent with yourself? I, Solomon, inherited a kingdom. I governed with power. I was surrounded by riches, by wise men, by banquets and alliances. And yet, I discovered that none of that has value if the heart is not in order. That is why I wrote, better a dry crust with peace and quiet than a house full of feasting, with strife, because abundance without serenity transforms into a burden, and what should bring joy becomes a prison. Peace cannot be bought, it cannot be inherited, it cannot be imposed, it is cultivated, and it can only blossom in the soul of one who has understood that it is not excess that fills, but balance. Many seek happiness, but don't understand that peace is its root. They want pleasure, but forget that an impatient soul is never satisfied, and they fall into the trap of living busy, so as not to hear their own emptiness. I have seen successful men tremble as night falls. I have known women admired by all who cried in solitude, because they had everything, except the essential, inner peace. And here is the secret I learned with tears and years. Peace doesn't come when everything is perfect outside. It comes when you stop depending on the outside to be well inside. That is wisdom. That is maturity. That is true prosperity. Don't confuse passivity with peace. Peace is not resignation. It is being able to choose your reaction. It is knowing when to speak and when to remain silent. It is holding your center when the world falls apart. It is having the ability to say no without guilt, and to say yes only when the soul validates it. Remember this, the noise is not always outside. Many times it resides in our mind, and the silence that heals most is not that of the surroundings, but the one that settles within you when you reconcile with who you are. He who has peace has direction. He who has peace has strength to decide well. He who has peace is rich, even if he sleeps in a humble bed. And that peace is not achieved with more goals, more titles, more bank accounts. It is achieved by letting go of the need to control everything, accepting what you cannot change, and being faithful to what your soul already knows, even if the world doubts it. In one of my ancient proverbs I wrote, "A tranquil heart gives life to the body, and that is medicine that no market sells. It is the fruit of an aligned life, a life that does not flee from pain, but also does not chain itself to drama, a life that needs no adornments, because its richness is at its core." If today you feel you have a lot, but have no peace, perhaps you don't have so much. If your house is full, but your soul feels alone, return to the source, because nothing external will solve what only internal wisdom can illuminate. Return to yourself. Be silent. Review your path. Perhaps what you need is not more, but less. Less noise, less obligation, less comparison, and more authenticity, more purpose, more soul. Because in the end, life will not ask you how much you achieved, but how much peace you found along the way. And as king, I tell you with humility, true fortune is not what the world sees, it is what the soul holds. Conclusion: the treasure that does not age. Now you know, the true formula for fortune doesn't begin in the hands, but in the mind. It's not built in haste, but with wisdom. And it's not measured in gold, but in peace. Many will spend their lives chasing shadows, accumulating titles, seeking validation. But you, if you have come this far, have already taken a different step. You have chosen to awaken, and he who awakens cannot go back to living asleep. Always remember this. Bronner in Enner. Inner vision guides your prosperity. Discernment protects your soul. Giving with intention opens the way. And peace is the greatest of all treasures. Do not allow the world to extinguish the seed that has been planted in you today. Water this wisdom with silence, reflection, and action, and you will see how, little by little, abundance begins to reflect what already flourishes within. And now, before you go, subscribe to the Ancient Mind channel if you feel these words have touched your soul. Every week Solomon will return with new eternal advice for today's dilemmas. Reflections that are not just heard, they are felt. And if you also believe that ancient wisdom has the power to heal the modern mind, leave us a comment below. We want to hear from you, learn with you, and grow together. May wisdom guide you, and may your soul never settle for less than it deserves. Until next time, son of time, I will speak to you again when your soul is ready to receive more.